Yeah, yeah, you put same treble clef and bass clef symbols and the lines డ్రా చేశాను సేమ్ లైక్ గ్రేడ్ పేపర్స్లో ఉన్నట్టుగా. సో యా, దిస్ ఈస్ ద ట్రెబుల్ క్లెఫ్ and this is the bass clef. Okay, as I told you earlier, so the notes which are on the treble clef will be played by the right hand and the notes which are on the bass clef will be played by the left hand. So this is the brass symbol. So we call this symbol as brace. Okay, and this symbol as treble clef. This symbol is a bass clef. So this brace symbol is used to join this treble and bass clef. Yeah. Now let's start with the treble clef. So we have 5 lines here, 1 2 3 4 5, and 4 gaps, 1 2 3 4. Yeah, same here in the bass clef. So for now, let's look at the treble clef. So the first line is E. We call this line as E. So I will. Okay. As we move up in the diagram, we should move right side in the keyboard. So now the first line is E, right? E. So as per the condition, whenever we move up in the diagram, we should move right side in the keyboard. So as we move up, this gap will be F because the right side note of the E is F. So again we are moving up. So again we should move right side. So this will become G, and the next gap would become A. As we moving up, we should move right side in the keyboard. So the next line will be B. So again we are moving up. This is a third gap. So C is the right side note of B. So here this gap will be C, and the next again we should move up. The line will become D. The next gap is E, and the line is F. Okay. So these are the staff lines. We call these lines as staff lines. And same goes here. These lines are called as staff lines. So uh, besides these lines, we can take these small lines. We call them as ledger lines. Ledger lines. So we can fill these also. So this last line is F, and the gap is G, and the small line is A, and the next gap is B, and the next line will become C. Yeah. Now let's move down from here, from this E. Let's move down. As I told you, whenever we are moving up in the diagram, we should move right side from this E on the keyboard. Whenever we are moving down, we should move left side in the keyboard. Yeah. So now from E we are moving down to fill this gap. So this gap would become D. D will be the left side to the E on the keyboard. So this gap will become D again. So next this line is C. we should move down while we should move left side on the keyboard while going down. So this small line is ledger line, and this gap would become B, and the first line of the bass clef A. So now I need to mention one point. This C is the middle C of the keyboard. Middle C, a third C. We call it as third C also. So remember it as middle C. This is the middle C which divides the keyboard into two halves. So this is the middle C. Now from this C, as we move up, here we can find one C which is fourth C of the keyboard, and still we keep moving up, we find here one more C which is fifth C of the keyboard. So whenever you find notation from this C to this fourth C, whenever we find the notes between these two C's here on these lines gaps, we should play in the third octave. From middle C to fourth C, we should play in the third octave. These all notes will be played on the third octave. Whenever we find notes between this fourth C and fifth C here, we play the notes in the fourth octave. Yeah. Now from this middle C, as we moving down in the diagram, we should move left in the keyboard. So now this first line is A. So let's keep moving down. This gap will become G. This line is F. And this gap is E. This is D. This is C, B, A, G. So I need to mention one more point. Yeah, we need to remember that the first line of the treble clef starts with E, and the first line of the bass clef starts with G. Yeah. So we can take some ledger lines here. Ledger lines can be taken as per the requirement. Yeah. So this is G. First line of the bass clef is G, and as we move down, this will become F. This line will become E, and this gap is D. The first ledger line is C. This one. So yeah, this is the middle C. We can observe two more C's here. So as this is the third C, this would become second C of the keyboard, and this is the first C of the keyboard. Whenever we have 5 octaves, this is the first C, this is the second C, and this is the third C, which is the middle C of the keyboard. And as we move up here, fourth C and fifth C here. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so we have these kind of notes. So we call, so now this is the head of the note, and this is the tail of the note. Yeah, same goes here, head and tail. So that way, whenever we find a note here, yeah, this way, whenever we find a note here, we should play the note E. Now whenever we find a note here in the gap. So as we know that second gap of the treble clef is A. So whenever we find a note in the second gap, we should play the note E, which is in the middle octave. This is the third C and this is the fourth C. So you have note in between these two C's. So you should play A in the third octave. So that's the thing. Yeah, I would like to tell you the names of the symbols. This is crotchet, one beat. Yeah, and this is minim, two beats. This is semi breve, four beats. We call it as whole note also. Whole note. The beats of this semi breve depends on the time signature of the piece. If the time signature of the piece is 4/4, then the count of this semi breve is 4. Whenever the time signature is 3/4, then the count of this whole note is 3 beats. Yeah, that depends on the time signature. Now we have off notes, quavers and semi-quavers. Yeah, this is a quaver, which is off beat, and this is a semi-quaver. Semi-quaver. Yeah, this is 1/8th beat. We call it as 1/8th off beat. This is 1/16th beat. Yeah. Now this crotchet is one beat. Instead of crotchet, we can take the two quavers. Yeah, two quavers. These are off beats. Two quavers make a crotchet, and instead of crotchet, we can take four semiquavers. So as this is the 1/16th beat, four semiquavers makes addition of the four semiquavers make one crotchet. Yeah. So yeah, minim is two beats. So we can take minim. Yeah, instead of minim, we can use two crotchets. That depends on the composition. Yeah, as this is the semi breve, if we consider the semi breve as four beats, then the instead of the semi breve, we can take four crotchets, because semi breve is four beats and crotchet is one beat. So instead of semi breve, we can take four crotchets. So yeah, that we can look at while doing some pieces. Yeah, so these are the names of the lines and gaps, and treble clef, bass clef. Yeah, this is the brace, and we call these lines as staff lines. Small lines are ledger lines. So as I mentioned here, as we have 5 octaves in the keyboard, the C you can see here in the bass clef is the first C. Yeah, second C, third C, fourth C in the treble clef, and fifth C here in the treble clef. Now the fourth C obviously will be in the treble clef, and fifth C is also in the treble clef, and the first C and second C will be in the bass clef, that for sure. And the middle C depends. This can be clubbed with the treble clef or the bass clef. So whenever this C is clubbed with the bass clef, nothing difference. You need to play the note C itself, but you should play with your left hand. That's it. Whenever this is clubbed with the right hand, obviously you have to play the middle note, middle C, but you should use your right hand to play the note C whenever it is clubbed with the treble clef. Yeah, that's it for now.